Hey, welcome back to the course. Let's continue building the projects. The next project that we're going to build is a navigation with nice and cool hover effects created based on HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Let's go ahead and describe the project. So as you can see, we have here a menu icon at the top right corner of the page. If I hover over the button, then the text will rotate nicely. And if I click the menu icon, then the navigation menu will open. As you can see, the navigation items are appearing nicely with some fade effects. So if I hover over the navigation items, then we'll get this nice and cool hover effect. Some of the letters are changing their color and also the font weight. Then, as you can see, the menu icon is changed with close icon. If I click close button, then the navigation menu will close. Okay, so as I said, the project will be created with HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So I've created a new folder on the desktop called navigation menu. Let's open it. Right now it is empty. I'm going to open this folder in VS Code. And then we need to create our working files for HTML, CSS and JavaScript. The first one is going to be index.html. Then I'm going to create style.css. As for the third file, it's going to be script.js. Then open index.html file and create the basic HTML document. We need to place here an exclamation mark and then hit tab or enter. So here we have the basic HTML document. I'm going to change the title. Let's insert here navigation menu. Then I'm going to link the CSS and JavaScript files. Let's open link tag, in which we have to specify the path of the CSS file. We need here the name of the file, style.css. And then I'm going to link the JavaScript file. Let's open script tag in the head element. And then in the source attribute, I'm going to specify the path of the file. We need the name of the file, script.js. And besides that, we need to add here attribute called differ. So this attribute indicates that the script should be executed after the HTML document has been completely parsed, but before firing the DOM content loaded event. This is useful for ensuring that the script doesn't block the parsing of the HTML document and is executed in the order it appears in the document. Actually, you can link the JavaScript file by adding script tag right before the closing body tag, but in this case, I prefer to add the script tag in the head element. Alright, let's go ahead and run the project to the browser using Live Server. We need to click here, open with Live Server, or you can click this icon here. So let's run the project to the browser. And then I'm going to place the editor and the browser side by side, like so. So let's go ahead and create the HTML markup. I'm going to open div tag with the class name container. Then I'm going to insert here another div. It's going to be menu. The menu will include button element with the class name menu btn, in which I'm going to insert div tag, which will include span element. This span element will have attribute called data text, and the value is going to be menu. Also, we need here menu. Let's duplicate div element. We need the same thing for closing the navigation, so I'm going to insert here close, and then we need here close as well. Okay, so that's it about the HTML markup for now. Let's open style.css file and first of all create some default styles. I'm going to select every element using an asterisk. Then I'm going to set margin and padding, both of them to 0. Next, I'm going to change the font family. Let's select font called Segoe UI. I don't know how to pronounce this font. Then I'm going to set list style type to none. And also I'm going to get rid of default text decoration using text decoration none. Okay, after that I'm going to select HTML elements and I'm going to set font size to 62.5%. So throughout this project we're going to use rem as the measurement unit. By default 1 rem is equal to 16 pixels, but I want to convert 1 rem to 10 pixels, and that's why we decrease the font size of the HTML element to 62.5%. So in this case 1 rem will be equal to 10 pixels. Otherwise, if the font size is 100%, I mean if the font size of the HTML element is the default one, then 1 rem is equal to 16 pixels. Okay, so after that I'm going to select the container. Let's set width and height to 100%. Then I'm going to select menu. Let's set position to absolute. Then I'm going to position the menu according to the container. Therefore, we need here position relative. After that, I'm going to define top and right properties. The top position is going to be 2 rem. As for the right position, I'm going to set it to 2 rem as well. So as you can see, the menu icon is placed on the right side. Next, I'm going to select the menu btn. I'm in the bottom itself. So let's set position to absolute. Then we need top and right properties. The top position is going to be 2 rem. We need the same value for the right position. Next, I'm going to set width and height. The width is going to be 10 rem. As for the height, I'm going to make it 4 rem. And also let's get rid of default border and make it none. Alright, after that I'm going to select the div element. As you remember, we have here 2 div elements. They include the spans. So let's go ahead and customize those div elements. I'm going to select menu btn followed by the div element. Then I'm going to set the font size to 1.6 rem. Also, let's set text transform to uppercase. We need to make the text uppercase. As for the width and height, I'm going to inherit them from the parent element. So I'm going to set width to inherit, and also we need height with the same value inherit. After that, I'm going to place the content in the center. In order to do that, we can use a couple of different ways. In this case, I'm going to use CSS grid. So let's set display to grid, and then we need place items with the value center. Okay. After that, I'm going to select the first development. I mean this development here. For that, let's grab this selector and then add to it first child pseudo class. I'm going to change the background color. Let's set it to C0FFF61, and also change the color of the text. It's going to be 444. I'm going to duplicate this code because we need to customize the second development as well. Let's change the pseudo class first child into last child. Then as the background color, I'm going to use 1E1E20. As for the color, it's going to be the same green color that we used here. Actually, we need to change the color and not the background color. Let's grab this code and paste it here. Okay, so the div elements are customized. Next, I'm going to take care of the span. So let's go ahead and select menu btn followed by the span elements. Let's set width to 100%, and then I'm going to create before pseudo elements for the span elements. I mean, if we take a look at the finished project, once we hover over the menu icon, then the text will rotate, and actually the second part that is appearing on hover is a before pseudo element of the span element. So let's go ahead and select menu btn followed by the span, and then we need before. The first thing that we have to do is to define the contents. In this case, I'm going to use a function called attribute, and I'm going to insert here data text. As you remember, when we created the HTML markup, we have added to the span elements data text attribute with the values menu and close. And so now I'm using those values here with the attribute function. So the next thing that I'm going to do is to define the position for the before pseudo element. It's going to be absolute. Then we need position relative for the span element because it is a parent element. Let's go ahead and define the top position. It's going to be 100%. So here we have the before pseudo elements. You can see here menu and close. Next, I'm going to add to menu button div elements the margin bottom. I'm doing this temporarily. We will remove this space later. So let's set margin bottom to 10 rem. Now the div elements are separated, and you can see here clearly the before pseudo elements menu and close. Next, I'm going to add to the before pseudo element left position. It's going to be 0. Then I'm going to set width to 100%. And also I'm going to rotate before pseudo elements. Let's use transform. Then rotate x function with the value minus 90 degrees. So as you can see, the before pseudo elements are no longer visible because they are rotated. Actually, if I change the value, let's say to 70 degrees, then you will see the before pseudo elements. But if we use 90 degrees, then they will no longer visible because they are rotated. Okay, so now I'm going to change the origin of the transformation. Let's set transform origin to top. So this property sets the origin point for transformations applied to an element using the transform property to the top center of the element. When you use the value top for the transform origin property, it sets the vertical origin point to the top edge of the element, while the horizontal origin point remains in the center. So transform origin top means that transformations will be applied to the element based on its top center as the origin point. Alright, after that I'm going to create the 3D environment, and for that we have to use one of the properties called perspective. Let's set perspective to 100 rem. Then in order to apply 3D environment for the before pseudo elements, we need to add transform style to the span element with the value preserve 3D. So the before pseudo element is a child for the span element. When we use perspective for the div elements and want to apply the 3D environment for the grandchild of the element, then we should add transform style with the value preserve 3D for the parent element. So in this case, parent is span, div element is a grandparent. As for the before pseudo element, it is a grandchild for the div element. Okay, after that, I'm going to rotate span element on hover. So let's go ahead and select menu btn followed by the first div element. We need here first child, then we need hover, and we have to select span. I'm going to rotate the element. Let's use rotate x, and the value is going to be 90 degrees. I'm going to duplicate this code. Let's change first into last, and the rest of the code will remain the same. Alright, so now in order to make the effect smoother, let's add here transition, we need transform, then the duration is going to be 0.3 seconds, and also I'm going to use ease in. Now if I hover over the button, then we will get this nice rotation effect. As you see, we need to change the origin of the transformation. Let's use again transform origin and make it top. Okay, so now everything works fine. I'm going to delete the margin bottom that we used for the development. Let's get rid of it. And now it's time to use JavaScript. Let's go to the script.js file. I'm going to select two different elements. The first one is going to be menu button. Let's select this element using query selector method. I'm going to specify the class name menu btn. Let's duplicate this code. We need to select menu. Let's get rid of btn from here. So the next thing that I'm going to do is to add an event listener to the menu button with a click event. Once we click the menu button, then we should add new class to the menu using toggle method. And then using this newly added class, we will define some styles in the CSS file that will be applied to the element once we click the menu icon. Okay, so as I said, I'm going to add an event listener to the menu btn. The event is going to be click, and also we need here a callback function which will be executed once we click the menu button. So as I said, we have to add to the menu new class with toggle method, and the class name is going to be, let's say, change. So now if I inspect the page and find the menu and then click the menu icon, you will see that it will get new class change, and then on the next click the class will be removed. So that's the way how the toggle method works. Next, I'm going to go back to the style.css file and find the development. I'm going to add a couple of different properties to the development. The first one is going to be position relative, and then I'm going to set position top to 0. We're going to move the development on click. So in order to do that, I'm going to use newly added class change, and then I'm going to select menu btn followed by the development. So on click, I'm going to change the top position, and I'm going to set it to minus for RAM. Now if I click the menu icon, the developments will move. Actually, we need transition to make the effect smoother. Let's add here transition top 0.5 seconds, and then we need again ease in. So now we have here this nice effect. Next, I'm going to hide the outer parts of the menu btn. So I'm going to add here overflow hidden. Now, as you can see, we have here this nice and cool effect. Okay, so finally, now it's time to create the navigation. I mean, we have to add HTML markup here. So right after button, I'm going to open HTML5 nav element with the class name nav. Then we need UL elements with the class name navigation. I'm going to open li elements, and the class name is going to be nav item. Then we need to insert link elements with the class name nav link. So besides the class attribute, I'm going to add here style attribute with the following value. We need here minus I equal to 1.1 seconds. So this inline style sets a custom CSS variable I to a value of 1.1 seconds. CSS variables allow for reusable values within a CSS file or inline styles. In this case, I is a custom variable name and it's being set to 1.1 seconds. It will be used in CSS transitions associated with this link. So I'm going to duplicate li element 4 times, and then I'm going to change the variables, and also we have to add the content here. So the first item is going to be projects, the second one will be agency, and also we have to change the value of the variable. It's going to be 1.2 seconds. Then we need here expertise, 1.3 seconds. Then I'm going to add here carriers, 1.4 seconds. And finally we need here contact, and the value of the I variable is going to be 1.5 seconds. Alright, after that I'm going to create the links for social media. I'm going to open div tag with the class name social media. Then I'm going to open another div and it's going to be social media group. I'm going to insert here a elements with the class name nav link, and again we need here style attribute with the same I variable. The value is going to be 1.7 seconds. As for the text in the link element, it's going to be Facebook. Next I'm going to duplicate a elements. Let's change the content, it's going to be Instagram. As for the duration, it's going to be 1.8 seconds. And then I'm going to duplicate the div elements. I'm in the group. Let's change the content of the links. It's going to be linked in, 1.9 seconds. And then Twitter, 2 seconds. Alright, so that's it about the HTML markup. We have here all the elements. Let's go to the style.css file and start to customize those newly created elements. I'm going to start with the navigation. Let's define position. It's going to be absolute. Then I'm going to set top and right properties. Let's set top position to 2 rem. Then the right position is going to be 2 rem as well. Also, I'm going to change the background color. Let's use again this green color here. And then let's define width and height. The width is going to be 50 rem. As for the height, I'm going to set it to 60 rem. Okay, so as you can see, the navigation covered the menu button. So I'm going to fix that problem. Let's add here the index property with value, let's say 10. It should be higher than 0. So now we see here the menu icon. Next, I'm going to add a couple of different styles to the nav. We need flexbox to align the elements. So let's use display flex. Then I'm going to change the direction because we are going to align the elements vertically. So the flex direction is going to be column. Then I'm going to create some space between the flex items using justify content space between. So as you can see, we have here the links placed at the top left corner of the navigation, and down below you can see the social media links. So next I'm going to create some space inside the navigation using padding. It's going to be 10 rem at the top side, then 0 on the right side, 5 rem at the bottom side, and 5 rem on the left side. So now we have the space inside the navigation menu. I'm going to use box sizing, border box. In this case, the width and height of the element includes padding and also the border. Next, I'm going to make the element smaller using transform scale property. I'm going to make scale 0.2 and then 0.06 these are the values of the x and y directions. Now, as you can see, the navigation menu became smaller. Next, I'm going to change the origin of the transformation. Let's use transform origin with the values 100% and 0. So, as you can see, the transform origin property may accept two values, horizontal and vertical. In this case, 100% represents the horizontal position and 0 represents the vertical position. 100% sets the horizontal origin point to the right edge of the element, and 0 sets the vertical origin point to the top edge of the element. So transform origin property with the values 100% and 0 means that transformations will be applied to the element based on its top right corner as the origin point. For example, if a rotation transformation is applied, the element will rotate around its top right corner. Alright, after that I'm going to use class change that we added here in the JavaScript file. Let's select nav with class change. I'm going to use transform with scale function and the value will be 1. And also I'm going to define top and right properties, both of them will be 0. Now if I click, then the navigation will open. Let's make this effect smoother. I'm going to add here transition, transform, 0.5 seconds, and also we need here little delay time, 0.5 seconds. Then I'm going to add here is in outs. Besides that, we have two other properties, top, 0.5 second, and again 0.5 second, the delay, and then we need right position, 0.5 seconds, and again 0.5 second. Okay, so if I click, then the navigation will open with these nice and cool effects. Next, I'm going to take care of the link elements. So let's go ahead and select nav link. I'm going to increase the font size. It's going to be 4 rem. Then I'm going to change the font weight. Let's set it to 200. And also I'm going to transform text to uppercase. After that, I'm going to change the color for all the link elements. And actually, I'm going to add this code here. Let's set color for the links to 555. Okay, let's go back. And I'm going to select social media. Let's define width, it's going to be 30 rem. Then I'm going to align elements using flexbox, we need display flex. And then we have to create space between the flex items using justify content space between. After that, I'm going to select social media group, followed by the A element. Let's set the font size to 1.8 rem. And then we need font weight to be 200. So as you can see, the style for the social media links is changed. Next, I'm going to add to the nav link transform property for the following values. I'm going to use translate 3D function with the values 2 rem, 7 rem, and 0. So translate 3D function moves the element along the X, Y, and Z axis. So the first value specifies the translation along the horizontal X axis. The element will be moved in the horizontal direction. The second value, 7 rem, specifies the translation along the vertical Y axis. The element will be moved in the vertical direction. As for the 0, it specifies the translation along the Z axis. But in this case, it doesn't have any effect since it's set to 0. Besides that, I'm going to use rotate X function with the value 90 degrees. This transformation rotates the elements around the horizontal X axis. Besides that, I'm going to hide the navigation links. Let's set opacity to 0. So, as you can see, the links are hidden. After that, I'm going to make them visible using class change. So let's use class change followed by the navlink. Let's grab this code. I'm going to set those values to 0. And we need 0 for the rotation function as well. Then we need to make the links visible using opacity 1. And finally, let's use transition. We need here opacity 0.5 seconds. And now I'm going to use the variable I, which we defined in the HTML file. As you remember, I variables have different values starting from 1.1 second to 1.5 seconds for the navigation links, and then we have the same thing for the social media links as well. So I'm going to insert here I and then transform 0.5 seconds and again variable I. So in this case, each link element will get different delay time. I mean, the first link will have delay time equal to 1.1 second, then the second link will have 1.2 second, and so on. If we didn't use the style attribute here, then we should have select each nav link separately with nth child selector, and I think that's the better way to use different delay times for each navigation link. Alright, let's check the results. If I click the menu icon, then the nav links will appear with fade effect and with different delay times. If we take a look at the finished project, you will notice that the links are appearing from the bottom side. They are appearing from the bottom side. In order to get this result, I'm going to add to the navlink display block, and also I'm going to change the height. Let's set height to 7 rem. So now we have this nice and cool effect. We need to change the height for the social media links as well. Let's set height to 3 rem. Okay, so now as you can see, everything works fine and we have here nice and cool effects. Next thing that we have to do is to create this hover effect for the navigation links. For that, I'm going to use JavaScript. So let's go to the script.js file and create new variable. Let's call it navlinks. So now we have to select all elements with the class navlink from the document and convert the resulting node list into an array using the spread operator. So we need array, then spread operator, 3 dots. Then we have to use document.querySelector all method. And we have to specify here the class name, navlink. Now I'm going to show you in the console what this element look like. Let's run in the console navlinks. So as you can see, we have here an array which includes all the link elements with the class name navlink. We have 8 of them. Okay, after that I'm going to iterate over each link element in the navlinks array using the for-each method. So we need navlinks followed by the for-each method. I'm going to insert here callback function with 2 parameters, link and index I. It will be an arrow function. So now I'm going to run to the console the following link.textContent, and I'm going to show you that we access only text content of the each link. So link parameter indicates each link throughout the loop, and we have here the content of the links. Let's get rid of this line of code. Now inside the loop we need to split the text contents of each link into individual letters and iterate over them. So we need here link.textContent followed by the split method. As I said, we need to split text content of each link into individual letters, and then we have to iterate over them. So we need for each method, and I'm going to insert here a callback function with the parameter letter. So now for each letter we have to create a new span element. For that I'm going to create span variable, and it should be equal to document.createElement, and we have to specify here the span. Then we have to add CSS class letter to the span element. So we need here span.classList.add the class name letter, and after that we have to set its text content to the current letter. So we need here span.textContent. It should be equal to letter, and finally we have to append it to the link element. So we need link.append, and we have to specify here span. Okay, so after adding all these span elements for each letter, we have to remove the original text node from the link element. Therefore, we need to insert here link.remove child, and then inside the parentheses we have to specify link.child nodes, and we have to select the first child node. Alright, after that let's go back to the CSS file and select letter with hover effect. I'm going to change font weight. Let's set it to 900, and also change the color, make it C. Let's go to the browser, open the menu. So once I hover over the links, then the letters will change the font weight and the color. Let's use transition. We need to select letter, and then we have to use transition, font weight, and the duration is going to be 0.4 seconds. Okay, so now we have much better results. After that, I'm going to select letter with hover, and then we need plus, again letter. So this is the adjacent sibling combinator in CSS. It selects the next sibling element that directly follows the specified element. So we need again font weight, in this case with the value 500, and then we have to change the color. Let's make it D. So once I hover, then you will see that now two letters are changing the styles on hover. After that, I'm going to add here the following. So we need letter followed by the pseudo class has, and now we need plus dot letter with hover. So let me explain what this code does mean. So this selector targets elements with the class letter that have an adjacent sibling with the class letter that is being hovered over. So has is a CSS pseudo class that selects elements based on whether they contain a specific selector. In this case, it's looking for dot letter elements that contain an adjacent sibling dot letter element that is being hovered over. Plus is the adjacent sibling combinator in CSS. I have explained it already. It selects the next sibling element that directly follows the specified element. So I'm going to add here font weight 500, and then we need color DTD. So if I hover over the link elements, then we will get this nice and cool effect, like we have it in the finished version of our project. See you in the next video.